So mind your manners. Larry, we have Rex Eberly, Terry Murphy, and Kara Biller from Recreation Commission, if you want me to bring them in as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
Brian, did you send us minutes of the last meeting?
Yeah, everybody should have gotten minutes with the agenda.
Yeah.
If not, you can always link to them through the agenda.
They didn't work. I tried clicking from the agenda and it didn't take me anywhere.
Okay. I just clicked on the link in the agenda and it brought me right to it.
All right, I'll go back and try again.
I thought I remembered reviewing them, but tonight, right before this, I tried to do it and I couldn't find them, but that's only me and my technical capabilities.
Larry,
Well,
you
lack
sell
thereof.
yourself short on your technical. You're much more capable than you think. Okay, I'm going to go here and click on it again. It says redirecting you to https:// www. Nothing there.
Okay. I can shoot it to you again.
Okay. Maybe it's because I'm using the amended agenda and not the first one you sent? Do you think if I went to the first one you sent?
No, because I just called up the amended agenda and it worked perfectly.
Oh, okay. Well, oh, you know what it's doing? It's downloading them. It's not opening them. It's download. Okay. Sorry, it was redirect. It downloaded them. It didn't open them. I'm sorry. Well, I haven't read them.
Well, it's 7:06. We've got a quorum, so let's start going. You're recording, right, Brian? Yeah, I can see that.
I am. We're going.
Okay. So let's do roll call. Larry Fish here.
Henry Thayer here.
Jay Newsom here.
Susan,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Mark Levitt. I can't see anything but you here and just one at a time for some reason, but Mark Levitt here.
Go to the view. You can do gallery.
Where is that going to be?
Up
Top
in the
right.
upper right-hand corner, there should be something labeled view.
Look for gallery. That'll do it.
Yeah.
Tom Ridley.
It's a little square in the corner of the screen.
Yeah, it's too small.
Alex Petrucci here.
All right. I'm going to go right to the Saugatucket River agenda item. If I don't hear any complaints about that, we've got visitors and I value their time. I thank you for coming tonight and being involved. Brian, did you talk to the town manager? And
I did talk to the town manager. Did he call you after we spoke? He said he was going to.
no.
Okay. So what he explained to me, Larry, was that he was basically agreeing with legal counsel Amy Goins that the way to approach this is to take a vote on a motion to ask the town council to authorize the Economic Development Committee to establish a subcommittee to study the park improvements. I did draft up a quick motion text. I can screen share that if you want. But that was my conversation with with Rob after I spoke with you, and we were getting mixed messages.
Right.
And to Rob's credit, he said, yeah, I might not have quite represented it correctly when I talked to Larry. So you're not crazy, Larry.
Okay, that was about 24 hours ago. So for the members of the rec committee and our committee, there's procedural things that we need to do. And we've been getting mixed messages on how to do them from different authority figures in town. And we don't want to violate any open meetings laws or any administrative procedures. So what my committee, what the EDC needs to do is make this motion so that, which will encompass the letter, Susan, and the whole process. What we're trying to do is establish this subcommittee that includes members of volunteers, like the architect and the engineer, and Maria Mack is one of them, and the rec committee members and administrative staff are members of this committee. And how do the minutes get posted? How does the meetings get posted? All the bureaucratic nonsense, but needs to be done. We want to get it straight. And therefore, that's what we've been trying to do over the last few days. And what won't happen over my dead body is that we will not delay this thing because of administrative problems or issues. So that's what I'm trying to do. And what we're allowed to do tonight is, because we have a posted meeting, we can discuss it, and everyone can participate with our visitors and any other volunteers that are there. And what we want to achieve today is to write a letter to the town council. Now it's been changed to authorize this subcommittee to be made up of these people. And that subcommittee will come up with the master plan, the preliminary master plan. And we're asking for the town council to have a work session with us once we anticipate that being done. So there's something to review. There's a scope of effort, initial scope of effort with initial dollars and that kind of thing, so that this can happen. And then once they're on board and they can tweak it, they can see it, and in our work session, they can tweak it. And then we'll have a meeting like we've had in the past at the Contemporary Theater with all the butters, anybody from the town, and we'll have something to present. And then take their input, tweak it some more, and then it goes to the town council for adoption or wherever they want to go with it from there. And, you know, this group is not going to monitor the project once it gets approved or whatever. This group will facilitate creating the concept and the master plan, and facilitate and identify revenue sources to fund it. And that's where I think is what our charge is going to be for this project and where we're going. All right, so go ahead, Susan.
Well, I just like to say, I don't think it's really necessary to do that. I think if we just had an agenda item, which was a discussion of Saugatucket River on our agenda, and if the Recs Committee had it on their agenda maybe not every time, but from time to time, we could just have a meeting like this and the three people from the Recs committee could come and,
Right.
And
I
that-
agree that is a way of going.
and if Maria wants to come, she can come. And if she doesn't
Well,
want to
yeah.
come, she doesn't have to
She had
come.
a conflict with tonight, so she couldn't
Well,
be here
yeah.
tonight.
But
And I discussed that with Larry this afternoon, Susan. The
Yeah.
stumbling block here is the creation of the subcommittee.
we
Nothing
don't-
prevents you from talking about this in your regular capacity as the Economic Development Committee.
Instead of having a
and-
subcommittee.
Right, and nothing prevents you from calling special meetings other than your once a month meeting to discuss it as the Economic Development Committee.
so that's,
Any member of the Recreation Commission is free to attend your meeting as a public representative, as are any of the members of the planning board. They can attend in their personal capacities as well. They cannot attend as a representative of the planning board unless the planning board elects to send them in that capacity.
right. So,
Oh.
so that's why I don't see what we get out of the subcommittee. It seems to me
Right.
it's just a whole lot simpler if we just on the days when there is something to be discussed, we notify Terry et al. She might not,
I agree with you, Susan. I think now that seems the simplest. The
yeah,
only issue is, towards the end of this month, the architect, the engineer, and Maria Mack have scheduled to have a meeting up in an in-person meeting up at URI in a big room where they can put out maps and landscape plans and start creating a likeness, a sketch. And that meeting, I would like your input on, and so what Rex, you stop me if I'm wrong, but we can just have an extra meeting that's at URI on such and such a day, and that can be posted, and that's all they're gonna work on.
Well, I'm gonna have to get clearance through the town. We are still not doing in-person meetings. That's a glitch right now as well. So
I was told by these people that to do the design work, they've got to meet.
yeah, but they're
volunteers working on their own time, Susan.
that's right. They're volunteers working on their own time. They're the extension of Will's class. So I don't see why they can't do their work and then bring it to us, and then it's then that we comment on.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think as a private citizen, you can go and talk with them and incorporate stuff if you'd like.
I don't have anything to say to them. I mean, what am I going to say to them? They're doing a professional task. They're looking at things that I can't really contribute to. They'll go and they'll
Yeah.
meet, they'll have their maps, they'll do whatever they're doing. They'll
Right.
draw on their tables, whatever,
Right.
that kind of stuff. And then when they've done that, which I suspect is better for them if they do that without us looking over their shoulders.
Right.
They do that, and then they come to us at a meeting, at a Rex, and we make sure that Rex and Terry and Kara are there. And anybody, anybody else who wants to be there can be there.
Tweak
but-
it, ask any kind of questions, try to put holes in it.
Yeah, but we don't, there's subcommittee business, we needed the little committee. We were just trying to, the whole thing is just out of proportion, it seems to me. We got into this because we wanted to spare Brian from having to draft the letter that went to town council.
Right.
So we said to Brian, Joanne, the other Brian, and I would draft the letter, and we weren't going to call it a subcommittee or anything. And the three of us, less than a quorum, We were gonna set it up over Zoom and we were gonna draft the letter, which is what we did several times, and we brought the letter back. And that's where we got in trouble, because that looked like we were going off to do something. And
Exactly.
all
Well,
we were doing was trying to spare Brian from having to write this letter. Now it's just rolling into this ever bigger thing, which I don't think gets us anywhere. I am delighted that Terry and Rex and Kara want to participate in this project, whatever this project is, with us. But I just don't see why we can't do, they have a meeting once a week on the third Monday. We have a meeting on the first Thursday. If we devote half an hour in each of our
Right.
meetings to whatever needs to happen, that means we have 2 meetings a month.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Mm.
And then we don't have, it's listed in the agenda, it's public, anybody who wants to can come, whatever we have to talk about can be witnessed. It seems to
Brian,
me,
you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with you having representatives at their meeting and them having representatives at your meeting, so long as you don't wind up with a quorum of your people at their meeting and vice versa. That means we would wind up having to double post
Right.
the meetings. So
but
that's something you still need to be cautious of.
Yeah.
So haven't
Jamie,
we-
hold on a minute, Susan. Jamie, you feel comfortable? Terry, you feel comfortable?
Want me to
Yes,
speak?
Yeah.
yes. Oh, sorry,
sure.
Terry. Go ahead,
That's
Terry.
okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. I think, yeah, there's quite a bit of, it's difficult to try to have constructive conversation and wrap our arms around this without, violating certain open meetings regulations. But I guess what I would want to point out are a couple of things. I agree that this is a kind of a format or a structure where we're able to have more or less high level conversation. But in terms of the actual development of looking at what might be proposed or kind of built upon with this vision for the Saugatucket is being able to be a part of the in-depth conversation. I would certainly like to see Rex as the expert on our end, being at the table for these meetings with some of the volunteers, so that there's an understanding at the very baseline level of what's being talked about and discussed. And as a matter of process, I think coming back to the Rec Commission, because ultimately the Recreation Commission is responsible for at least that piece of this puzzle that is Saugatucket Park. I realize that this vision expands outward from the park, but
Yep.
essentially the focal point is the park. And I think it's my responsibility to make sure that the Recreation Commission is the first body that sees the recommendation and then is on board for presenting something, dovetailing with the EDC to present something to the town council to say, this has been looked at. We agree this is a master plan that is something that's viable for the long term, and we'll do what we can to move it forward, whether it's in small bites as we move it along the line. But that's kind of what I see. I think that the monthly meetings and having attendance, us going back and forth, is helpful, but I don't think at the level of really having substantive discussion about what the details are. And I think at that level, and again, if there's only one representative or two representatives from the Recreation Commission or staff that's involved, I think we can manage that. I would defer to Rex. I would think that as our park superintendent and landscape architecture professional, that's something that he would want to weigh in on.
Okay. Jamie, you joining us in the boat?
Again, the concern and the difficulty is
not running amok of the Open Meetings Act, and that was the initial discussion of having the subcommittee. And I think it was a little more involved than just getting Mr. Wagner out of writing a letter. And to Terry's point, the concern would be, I'm the director of planning. Terry is the director of leisure. And this is the first we heard of this grandiose meeting where people are going to work on a master plan for the Saugatucket, and two potential critical players in that discussion just became aware of this meeting that's being held at URI.
What?
Not that we want to go to another meeting.
No.
Wait a minute.
These are just volunteers that are going to,
This meeting at URI, I mean, I'm not even quite sure what it is, but I gather that what Larry's talking about is just these volunteers wanting to try and sort of figure out the beginning of what it is. It's like, they're just, I don't know what they're doing, but it seems to me it would be, they're trying to, our charge, Larry's charge to them was take Will Green's, take what the EDC liked about the Will Green class, which was some stormwater management stuff in the river and this idea of an amphitheater and
river walk.
Susan, can I just finish though? My concern is as you stated, there's a meeting.
I don't know about the meeting.
The issue of EDC members attending that. And that's where the issue of the Open Meetings Act comes in. If there were a subcommittee and there was a posted agenda, then you don't run amok of the Open Meetings Act, because you could have a four-member committee, simply 2 members of EDC, 2 members of the rec committee, whether they're staff or members of those committees, could be the subcommittee. You post an agenda, you start the meeting, you keep very simplistic, basic meeting minutes, and then you conclude the meeting. And that subcommittee can invite guests. And guests could be potential, it could be Brian Wagner, it could be another architect, could be potentially another member of the EDC meeting, but you're attending as a guest of that subcommittee. So again, that's why council was being very conservative and guiding us on the subcommittee route. If your choice is to just have it on your regularly scheduled agenda, I would put you have other business to get through. And more importantly, Terry typically has a very full agenda. So if it was an agenda item at the rec commission level, I would, kind of have a placeholder that it's a half-hour discussion, or
Right.
There's some limitations on that. Again, we would love the fact that we're not going to another meeting on another night in another location. So again, I potentially support the fact, but I think it has to stay focused.
Yeah. This afternoon, Susan, Maria Mack called me and wanted an up. We always talk before these meetings, and she just wanted to give me an update that she had talked to the two volunteers, and she had given me a little update on what's going on in DEM and DOT and that kind of stuff, and said that they all agreed that they needed to get together in person to start envisioning the plan, and then start doing the nitty gritty of what's involved, is the geographic limitations of the site. Will that work in handling the amount of stormwater that comes off the hill down High Street? Those kind of things that nobody at this table right now have anything to do with. And they were going to work on that. Now, they're all volunteers, and they can work on their own. And I think you're right. They can just come, and we don't really need to be at those things. We can, instead of having a subcommittee, it'll just be a normal agenda item, and we'll give our 2 cents worth then.
Well,
And by inviting the rec committee, I don't even think we need to be on their agenda. They can update their committee on anything that happens in our meeting.
Well,
Uh,
one thing I would say, Larry, is maybe Rex, maybe whatever this meeting is that they plan, maybe Rex could go to that meeting. Would that be all right if Rex went to that meeting?
As far as our volunteers are concerned, yes. In terms of open meetings law, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean,
Rex's staff, it's not an
Yeah,
open
Rex's
meetings
staff.
act issue.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
so that would work.
that would work.
I'm trying to make this simple,
Me
not
too.
have you guys have to go to meetings and not violate any rules. and
So
regulations.
Larry, here's a quick takeaway from the discussion that legal counsel has advised us of a potential motion to set up a subcommittee. We can have the discussion with the town manager as well as legal counsel that it appears to be some consensus of EDC to not have a subcommittee and to just add it as an agenda item. But with that being said, I would still potentially move forward on the request to create a subcommittee in case there's a need for it, and you won't lose a month. Okay, so
Right, that's what I'm worried about.
okay, so something could happen, and it's like, wait, we really need this subcommittee. Oh, we can't do it. We have council.
If-
We can't
if
get
I-
before council for 4 weeks.
All
If
right,
I can-
let me get that consensus right now. 2 seconds, everybody.
Well,
Just give
Larry,
me,
hold on
just
a
give
minute.
me a
Joanne wants
thumbs
to
up.
say
that
Larry,
you-
yeah, Joanne has the,
Joanne has her hand up, Larry.
Go ahead.
So, all good points from everyone. I hear and I think it sounds easy to just say, we'll work in these subgroups and keep it separate. But the thing is, this is a major thing for the town. And I think it's just going to delay everything if we keep having these type of situations. I really feel like a simple letter to the town council should be drafted, sent out to say that there's going to be a collaborative group of different interdepartment government, and volunteers to look at the Saugatucket and look how we can make improvements, and then have a subcommittee. I know it's like one more committee, but once a month, I think we can handle it, right? I think the volunteers working on various things, sometimes the craftsmen, the designers like to have a little bit of input on the way. And I think I would welcome them inviting us to this committee to go in and see what they're planning, get some input. It just helps drive it and move it. I feel like we do need a subcommittee created. A letter should go to the town council and get moving on this because
So you don't think we can handle this
important
as a
thing of the
committee?
town,
You don't think we can handle this as a committee? The whole
as a
committee?
as a couple different subcommit, a couple different,
No,
One,
our committee. And everything comes before this committee.
well,
You
the
think you
reason
need
why-
to go off and be involved?
I almost feel that it has to be a new committee with the rec commission, planning, Maria, with Kara, Rex, and Teresa, Maria, and then Susan, Brian, and myself, and you, Larry, if you'd like.
All right,
And the consultants. And so it's a group of about 9 or 10 people when you add it up. And we work the next 3 or 4 months to help them get a vision and get moving on it. I mean, I think
okay. Jay, what do you
1
think?
hour. So that's
You've had your
that's my
hand up.
suggestion.
I don't have a problem either way, committee or not committee, but one thing that I do think is that if they're going to have a meeting at URI and they're going to be presenting some ideas, I think that we should try to get them to do that virtually. And when that meeting occurs, everybody who can attend virtually, if it's during the daytime, probably will be, should be able to attend and not comment, but just see what's going on in their heads. So that we'll be prepared at the next meeting to come back and talk about this more intelligently.
I hear what you're saying, but I think that would be a violation. Let me go to Tom.
Wait a minute,
I'll come to you,
what's
Steve.
what's the violation?
We can't be involved without notifying any member of the
We
committee.
would not be involved. We would just be watching a presentation.
I hear what you're saying.
It could be like a webinar. It could be
Uh,
a Zoom without any participation on our part.
Okay,
There are ways to do it.
Tom,
Yeah, so who's running the meeting up in URI? Who's heading the meeting?
Just the volunteers, they're supposed to come back with a preliminary design and make sure that what we envision,
Right.
what this committee envisions can be done with the physical site.
And volunteers, are these students or?
No, this is the landscape architect
Professional.
and engineer from DEM that are all, and other volunteers from DEM that are retired that will help put this together.
Okay,
All professional stuff.
Did they request
Got
us to come to the meeting?
No, I don't
They
think so.
didn't.
No,
Well,
no,
why,
no.
why is there a
Why?
problem then? If we weren't
Because,
requested to go to the meeting?
Jay, we're going to give them a charge out of this meeting, all right, with the key elements, and they're going to go back and see if it can be done. All right? Alex,
I want whatever is going to move this project along. I think
Okay.
the subcommittee is going to make it move along faster, then that's the way we need to go. I also think Terry and Rex are probably more, what's the word, qualified for something like this over someone like myself. I'm not really, into building parks and maintaining parks. So
Mhm.
personally, I think we do need a subcommittee.
Henry,
Okay, can everybody hear me?
yep,
What I want is, I just don't want us to violate any open meeting laws,
yep,
because if that happens, it throws a wrench into our gears. Because there's got to be an investigation, there's got to be this, there's got to be that. So, yeah, I mean, I see if it's run up through URI, and then we're, the report out of whatever happens there comes to us, that would be optimal.
okay,
Because there's got to be a central point of control.
Mark,
I'm just taking it all in. Thank you, Larry. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Susan,
Okay, I think there's still some confusion about the relationship between the Randy Collins, Elizabeth Scott kind of people and our committees. At Will Green, I think they need some guidance from us, but I believe we've already given them that.
I think
Larry,
I think your email was perfect on what we envision.
Yeah, so, so but my email, for those of you who don't know, my email was our letter, Joanne and Brian. It took the stuff from our letter, copied it over, and sent it off to them so that they'd know what we were thinking about.
Right.
So I think if they had questions, and the other part of my email was the Parks and Recs plan, so that they could see what that plan was as well.
Did we
So-
see that, Susan? I'm sorry, the email or no?
I think I might have just sent it to Larry. I think in worrying about open meetings, I just sent it to but I'm happy to send it to you, Terry.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be helpful. If I may, I think there's still, I think there's still some confusion, at least on my part, with the initial discussion with the Rec Commission. This subcommittee made sense in that we were all discussing something at the same time. We were vetting it. We were making sure that at every level of this, that there was some kind of consensus. If there's a vision already established and that's been sent to volunteers who from what I understand are very, expert in their fields, but I still have a strong feeling that there's got to be that baseline discussion again with these folks, with staff, with the Rec Commission, before that vision somehow gets fleshed out at their level with no input from
Okay,
Rec.
I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't send you our letter that we were planning.
That's not really the issue.
But I can see that whatever this drafting brainstorming session that Larry's mentioned that they're planning to have at URI, it could be very useful to have Rex. Now that I know Rex as a staff member of the town can be there, I think that would be terrific. That would be, Terry, your way of getting whatever you want said. Of course, before that, I'll send you what we sent to them, which is our draft letter to the town council. Happy to send that around. But then it seems to me that their drafting session could benefit from having Rex's input. Rex is the only one of all of us who has any technical skills that would be useful to them.
I would also mention the town engineer, Rich Bourbonnais, is also
Rich Bourbonnais.
architect, and he teaches at URI.
Yeah, Rich would be a good
He'd
one.
be a valuable,
Yes, yes,
source
okay.
as well.
Okay, and I didn't mean to leave you out, Terry, when I said there was no expertise.
No, it's not my expertise, I will admit, but I do feel compelled to make sure that.
And that's why it's good to have a committee, a new subcommittee, because the rec knows what the planning, what the EDC wants, what the consultants are all talking about. It just seems like.
Yeah, but Joanne, I think there's one thing that, I mean, maybe we do need the subcommittee. I don't like the idea, but maybe we do. But we also need to leave these people to be able, they're going to be doing different kinds of things from what we could do. They're going to be, they're going to be talking about the volume of the water and the blood.
Right, but they really need to make sure, the rec commission needs to make sure that their plans are already really vetted and seen.
Well,
and because the rec commission put a lot of effort into their
well, wait, there's another thing that I want to say, which is the rec commission has gone and done something which we have, we have no, in a lot of ways, we as the EDC don't have any say in that. Terry was generous in saying, well, if there's some ways in which we could get this to work together, that would be good. But that was not, I sent them that as background, but not to say any, that is sort of in tandem with what the Economic Development Committee is doing. So it's not that, I don't know,
let's look forward. Let's say that they come up with a little bit of a plan. And what do you think about it? It would be nice for a subcommittee to vet it first before it's shared with the rec commission, the planning commission, the planning.
It's not, it's going to come back to this committee because it's all work being done off-site to come back to us. And in turn, the people from the rec committee to then say, oh, well, what about this? What about that? I don't think that should be there. Can it be moved there? And everything is going to work the same way as a subcommittee, only we've got participation from everybody from our committee instead of the chosen three.
Yeah.
If the planning director thinks that that's fine, then it's fine with me. I think I would think that you'd want to start a letter and to the top down to let.
That's totally separate, Joanne, and we're going to do that letter. That's the next thing we'll talk about.
Oh, okay.
So
Larry,
my perspective, if I can just say, is that you need more coordination amongst the groups. And it seems to me that the subcommittee might be the best way of doing it. You can do it in the ultimate way, but definitely you need more coordination.
Go ahead, Rex.
So, yeah, thanks for having me here tonight, and thanks for including us
Good seeing you again
in the meeting. Yeah, good to see you, Larry. This park is kind of near and dear to me, being tasked with maintaining it for a total of probably 25 years now. And I also worked on it as a studio project when I was in school at URI. And so we've had in our capital plan for about 3 years now to do some maintenance in the park. One of the items was included redoing the sidewalk around the perimeter of the park. And then when the grant became available last year, Terry did a lot of work to apply for the grant, and we were awarded the grant. And as part of the grant that we were approved was upgrades to the basketball court and actually making it a dual purpose court and redoing the sidewalks and the fencing. And so that was all included in the grant. And we were ready to move forward with, not in full design yet, but really to start to get design work and engineering work for those components of it. And then, I ride by the park just about every day, and I kind of have visions of how that should move forward and what I envision for the fencing and the courts, how that should be laid out and everything. So I really want to be involved as much as possible with a committee so that when we move forward with what we have in mind for the park and what we've been approved for a grant funding, it doesn't conflict with anything,
Right.
for future plans. It sounds like, the plans for an amphitheater and other things is probably a longer term vision. It's not going to happen in 2 years.
Right.
My experience with projects of this size, we were envisioning our portion of this project to be completed within about 1.5 years at the most. So, to make it short here, I would very much like to be in on if there's a subcommittee and be very involved in the design. I know Randy Collins very well. So
You wouldn't even have to be on a subcommittee to work with Randy Collins. I think, I continue to think that we leave those people we're calling volunteers to do their work. We add to their group 2 staff people from town, Rex and Rich. They have the guidance we've given them. And that's pretty much all the guidance we can give them.
Right.
And then those however many people they are, they draw, they chat, they do what they can do. And then they come back to the EDC, to Terry, and we all sit together and we look at what they did. And we can then say, oh, no, we don't like that. Or, oh, what a great idea. Or this is what we, I think from what I hear from Maria, they're talking about things that would be near-term things, small scale things, little things to get people interested in this project that would sort of piggyback on what Rex and Terry are talking about. So they'd be kind of near-term improvements that people could say, oh, this is a great resource. We haven't been paying enough attention to this. And so we could collectively decide this goes first, this goes second. This is how we get more money for this. This is where we need more formal kind of expertise. We can't rely on the volunteers to do all the drawing that will be required. But I think that this volunteer crew is not going to get very far ahead of us in a meeting at URI with Rex and Rich there. I don't think they're going to come back saying we're going to the moon. And then we have another meeting in April or something when we look at what they've come up with.
Right.
I
The
just
original
want to
plan-
for the record say that I can't offer up Rich. He's not in my department.
No,
But
I know
he's
you
an
can't.
expert. I don't want John Schock coming back and
Okay, no, I'm the one. I mean, I think Maria's already mentioned that he would be somebody we could call on, and I think we should just ask. I agree.
I see
jumping
you,
ahead to
Jamie,
say
just a minute.
Yeah,
Are
I'm
these,
jumping ahead to say he would be there, but
are these volunteers trying to work within a rough budget? I mean, so that we
Oh.
have some expectation that the plans aren't going to go through the roof.
No, they know the constraints that they have.
well,
And
when they were in our meeting a couple months ago, Tom, they said that this could cause, if you wanted to talk about the entire watershed, it could be an enormous project. But if you wanted to do what we were talking about through the EDC as a sort of phase 1 of this thing, they thought it would be manageable. And they further pointed out that there's money slushing around in DEM now to do some stormwater, water quality stuff.
Right.
And Elizabeth Scott has said that if we get in with a bid, with some ideas by the beginning of the summer, which seems like it might be possible, that she and her group can provide guidance for the town to help maturate the drawings and the ideas that would need if there were larger scale things. So I think we're all talking about the same thing. It's just a question of how we get there.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I can try and summarize some of the thoughts. You have 14 people on the screen this evening. So if you equate that to everybody has a 27 colored box of crayons, multiply 27 times 14, and we all have an envision of what we're drawing. And we're going to end up with a multitude of 27 times 14. You're potentially engaging in a conceptual design of a multifaceted, multi-million-dollar improvement to an area of town. And at some point, you need to control the flow of information, and not necessarily control, but you need to manage the flow of information. I've heard a lot of things tonight from different individuals, which are all little pieces of a puzzle, but no one knows what the puzzle looks like yet. The purpose of the subcommittee and the reason the discussions were to have it 2 and 2 EDC, 2 Rec Commission, is in essence to be lean and mean and be able to react and move to the changing dynamics of the project. Added to that are your volunteer design team who drifts in and out of the subcommittee, but the flow of information in essence is volunteers to the subcommittee reports back to the full commission, and they keep everybody focused and on track so that you're really dealing with 4 people with 27 crayons each instead of 14. And the utilization of everyone's time, including staffs, we've been talking about this for 50 minutes tonight, is extremely focused. I value everybody's opinion on the screen tonight, but we need to focus those opinions to get an end result. And I think, again, the subcommittee's purpose, in essence, is to articulate the full EDC's kind of vision, as well as the full rec committees, meld that, translate it, and work with the volunteer group before they spend 6 months, and then bring a plan back. And everybody says, what's the fear would be, what's this? Tom, you asked a great question. Do they have a budget? Are they designing a $2 million park or a $12 million park? And those are questions that the subcommittee, they need to be able to bounce ideas off of people. If we have a committee of 4 and they called us up on Monday and said, hey, any chance we can meet on Thursday? It's probably pretty easy to get 4 people potentially together in a short period of time, not violate the Open Meetings Act. If we need to call additional people in, we can try and arrange that. And then report to the full EDC on a monthly basis, report to the full, Terry can make the reports, Rex can make the report too. And then when the 2 committees need to interact with each other, we deal with that then. Again,
I don't have a problem with that,
large
Jim,
committee.
but in your analysis, your example right there, a couple of people say, can you meet next Thursday, this coming Thursday? I got a couple of hours. I want to discuss this about it.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a subcommittee like that, you can't, because you have to post it.
24 hours,
Posted so
24
many
hours
days
special meeting subcommittee. We can pull that off.
You can pull off with no notice.
24-hour notice, special meeting of the subcommittee.
48 hours.
48 for a special meeting, Brian, or regular?
That's what I'm trying to avoid, is that kind of stuff.
But again,
I'm
we
trying to give them the
can
flexibility.
move quickly, Larry, and be able to react, be able to pull Rex in when needed. If we need to, and Rich is available, pull them in. A lot of the members aren't aware of my background. I have 32 years in the planning field. I've been involved in 6 major park overhauls and redesigns. I've been involved in about 8 full park designs. I've reviewed and been involved in the design of close to 10 18-hole championship golf courses. I'm an award-winning design review entity by the Department of Environmental Protection as it relates to multi-purpose trails. So I have something to bring to the table. Rex,
Great.
resume is probably far beyond that, and he can bring a lot to the table. But it's just when we need to be at the table needs to be critical. And we don't always need to be at the table. Randy's
Totally agree.
extremely qualified. Will Green's extremely qualified. Maria's qualified. Sometimes that design charrette, they may just want to meet Thursday to get together as 3 people and try and figure out where they need to go. And then they want to talk to Rex and myself and Rich. But we don't know that because we weren't even aware of what they were trying to accomplish. So again, it's not the control of information, it's just the flow of information to try and manage that in an orderly manner so that we can get across the goal line. We don't want to be stuck at the 20-yard line figuring out how to cross it.
So I want to ask you this then. Do you think, in your opinion, would be that we should ask the town council in a letter to form a formal subcommittee or a separate committee?
What Brian's motion is, and we worked with this with Amy and the town manager today, is essence to ask permission of the town council to authorize the Economic Development Committee to create a subcommittee. So town council's not creating it. They're authorizing you to create this subcommittee. So they're blessing that action.
All right, I have no problem with that. If that's what staff wants to do,
Yeah.
and it's the quickest and safest way of doing it, then I'd entertain a motion right now to do that. Can somebody make?
One last thing, the next thing we did, Brian and I even talked about logistics of this subcommittee meeting, and potentially you meet on Thursdays at 7 o'clock. My suggestion would be if they were available, we would meet at 6 o'clock with the subcommittee.
That's what I was
And there'd be an agenda item that we can report right out to you following that meeting.
That's great. Any member want to make that motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
All right, Tom. Do I hear a second so we can put it on the floor?
I'll second.
All right, Alex seconds it. I think we've killed it.
Yeah, just
Anybody
to be
else would
clear,
like to talk about it?
it takes 40 for these 4 people to meet. We have to post it 48 hours before we meet.
Yeah, 48 business hours. So you can't count weekends.
Oh, but the volunteer group doesn't have to do this. They can meet whenever they want. It's just
Correct, Susan.
if we want to meet with
Correct.
them. Is that what we're talking about?
If we want to meet with them, we post it.
Okay, well, if they can meet without us from time to time, then I guess I'm all right with this. As long as they don't have to be bound by this kind of stuff, we'll never get anything out of them.
If they're not members of the committee, it doesn't trigger Open Meetings Act unless they're members of a different body. But it wouldn't trigger Open Meetings Act for Maria and Randy to meet, or Maria and Randy to meet with Rex and, or other staff members,
Okay.
because
Okay,
What
you
about
don't have the
Paul Jordan?
public body question.
okay.
And that would be my preference, by the way, if Randy and Maria and
Will Green.
Elizabeth Scott, is that her name?
Yeah.
Our meeting, I think it's just helpful as if they're discussing things that we
I
have a
agree.
staff person, because
I
then
also-
we can rule things out if we know off the
I
bat.
agree. I think
that
that,
type of stuff. I
that's-
think that
I
would be
agree.
great. As long as we're in the loop on that, that's great.
And
Okay.
just as a point of order, Paul Jordan, who's also a member of the planning board, is one of the engineers that's working on it too.
I heard from Paul today, as a matter of fact. He had some questions about Saugatucket Park, so.
All right, so Paul and Maria are from the planning board. So Jamie, I just want to make sure, we don't violate anything.
We will double check that with council. Again, they're acting on this volunteer design team as members of the public. They're not,
Yeah.
Correct.
not appointed by the planning board. But again, Open Meetings Act, we're aware of it now that we may have 2 planning board members attending a meeting. We'll just make sure, maybe they can't be there together. They have to be there individually at different times.
All right.
I just had so Brian Smith was on our little EDC group.
Yep.
And I know it was 2 and 2. So what should we do about that? Do you want me to opt out to have Brian stay in, or?
That's up to the 3 of you, or we can't make it 3 and 3 because the rec committee, that would force a quorum in there. So
Well,
you can't
3
do
and
that.
2?
So
Could we
it
do
can't be
3 and
3?
2?
Can we do 3 and 2?
No, this is what the town manager advised me to put forth. So 2 and
2.
2 is what we're gonna go with.
Okay, well, so the only thing I would say to you, Joanne, is that there is this other thing that is being discussed, which is the anniversary of the town. And maybe it would be useful if you sat there, and then when I had questions, I could call you and ask you about what was going on over there. And so maybe there's a way we can still share some information. I mean,
basically, this doesn't really affect anybody but the 3 of you. So.
okay, so we'll take
No.
it up. We could draw straws, although, yeah, okay.
All right, so we want to do this?
I
We
guess,
had a
Discussion?
I guess we've spent a lot of time on it. We should
Yeah.
do it.
Well, this is the main item, and that's why everybody's here. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Rex and Terry and Kara can leave after this.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
any opposed?
Aye.
the scope of this, but that's something that I cover in.
Henry, you're an aye, you're not a nay, right?
I'm an aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous, Brian.
Okay.
And
And do we have 2 designees?
I was gonna have the 3 interested individuals discuss that amongst themselves.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
the 2 would be out of the 3, Susan,
Yeah.
Brian.
Okay.
Joanne.
So, 2 out of
I don't
those
need-
3.
Okay.
And everybody on the EDC approve of that?
yes,
Yes.
So then I just have a question is, from the rec commission, is it Kara and Rex?
No, Rex isn't a member of the committee. He's a
Uh,
staff,
Kara is a rec commissioner, yes.
right?
Right, so it's
So you'd have to
Kara.
come up with 1 more.
We may request that it be a staff person, and a commissioner,
All right,
Um,
and that's
as long as-
okay?
unless
That-
there's
that's-
some issue with that.
It's not, there's no legal issue with that. If Terry wants to have Rex step in instead of another commission member, that's fine.
We'll
Oh,
put
that's
it to
great
the
then.
commission, and if there's another commissioner that would prefer to be on the subcommittee, then Rex will, serve as staff, and we'll have another commissioner.
I'll volunteer, David.
Terry,
Doesn't he
I
do
wa-
that to people who don't show up?
Is that kind of brings them some
Okay,
sort of de-stress.
More than happy to help out.
thank you,
Oh,
Kara.
good,
Thank you,
thank you, Kara.
The breath, I think, is going.
Very exciting. It's a very exciting project.
Thank you, Terry and Rex and Kara for being here. Sorry this was so
Right.
painful.
Yeah,
Not painful at all.
things go.
Very exciting.
Thank you.
Happy to be here. Thanks for your interest in the park. It's wonderful to have
Oh,
lots of interest in
thanks,
Saugatuck.
thanks for what you've done so far. It's great.
I've had a lot of people come up to me and want to help out from the public,
That's great.
some of which can bring significant resources.
Wonderful. We like that.
I know.
Everybody wants to be outdoors now. Everybody likes
Yeah.
to be outdoors. So any way that we can improve that, Be more than happy, honestly.
Rex, and some of those people are people who grew up right at that basketball court and have fond memories just like you do.
Yeah, yeah.
So you've got good company.
Good. Well, it was nice to see everybody. Nice to put some faces to the names I've heard a lot about. So I look forward to working on this project with everybody.
Thanks a lot, guys. You
Okay.
guys can go.
Thanks.
We got more
Thank
work.
you very much. Everybody have
Yeah.
a good night. Bye-bye.
Okay.
You.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's talk about the letter now, because that has to be finalized. I would like to have a motion that encompasses the subcommittee that what we're asking for. So the letter, and Brian, you can draw this up. It doesn't have to be Susan that draws this up, but it's those 3 points that were in your letter, Susan.
Brian has a draft.
Oh, yeah, and I think
well-
that it should go and ask for this. It's got to incorporate the committee that we've designed right now with their motion, and I think that that's what it is. And
I have a question. Should it mention the grant from Parks and Recs? Maybe not. Maybe that's none of our business. Maybe it just says we're setting up this committee with them.
to incorporate
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
we'd like to see with
Yeah,
and coordinate it.
yeah. All right, Brian, I can send you a copy again of what Joanne,
Please.
Brian and I worked out so that I send you the most, and maybe we'll look at it as we send it to you, but.
And I think the letter can ask for a tentative date of a work session with the town council and the EDC in mid-May.
I think you are way too premature to be asking for meetings with
Yeah.
the council.
Yeah.
I think you need to let the subcommittee play out. And I think you need to make sure that you have your arms around the problem before, and I had worked up something else just to share it real quick. These are the things I think you need to answer before you're ready to go back to council. I think you need to have a concept plan generated, maybe 2 or more alternatives that might address different cost or feasibility issues. You need to understand what your project feasibility issues are in terms of cost, regulatory issues, project timeline, and whether or not we need other people to partner with us. I know that some of the stormwater issues could potentially be located on the other side of the river or off-site. I think that since this is an idea that's coming from an economic development committee, I think you're going to have to be able to tell the town council, what the business case is for this and how it is actually going to result in economic improvement. And then I think we need to have a much firmer idea of outside funding sources. I know people have talked a lot about there being money available. After our last meeting, I did some poking around and I was not able to find any open grant application things out there that were entertaining projects like this. So maybe I wasn't looking in the right place. Sometimes these things aren't advertised particularly well, but I couldn't find one. I contacted some people that I know up at DEM and sort of described what we're doing, and I was told no, they weren't aware of anything out there that would support this. So we need to know where some of the money's coming from.
One source of funding that's been talked about is DOT.
Yeah, DOT is also another. So
I looked at DOT's open grant applications and I didn't see anything that would support this.
This is consent decrees with DOT and DEM.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with grants.
Yeah, it's not grants.
And that's why you're not finding it. When I talked to Maria today, she said that Randy and Paul had talked to Elizabeth Scott, and I think Sue Kiernan was talked to as well. And they're starting down the path of whether the project would qualify and whether it would be in the priority timeline and that kind of stuff. So I know that it's being worked on number 4 is being worked on through the back channels, if you will, of the people involved. And they have to come up with number 1 so that they can identify the scope of what's necessary to pre-treat the water, the stormwater runoff, to see if it's the feasibility that it can do, whether we can handle it on that site or where it could be handled, or whether it needs to be broke up into multiple sites. They're going to work that down in their little work session. And at the same time, concurrently, they're going through the process in DOT and DEM, preliminary. And nothing formal or anything else on, yeah, this is great. We could fund that. Well, what's the size? Well, they're working on that. So now they can tell them the size. So then we know whether it's $300,000 or $1 million or 2 million. Nobody at this table knows that yet.
Right.
Feasibility, whether it can be done. It looked good. All right. Amphitheater and all the stormwater is cleaned up before it goes into the river underground, and underneath the basketball court and everything else. Great design in our heads, but these guys are going to make it happen. And they got to do all the numbers to make it happen. I absolutely agree with Jamie. So the 4 is, I know 1-4 is underway, which would encompass 2. This committee has to deal with 3. And I would say that's the main item on the agenda for the April 1st meeting of this committee, is to work on 3.
Okay,
And
I think we might also have some stuff to do on sort of the vision stuff that might be behind number 1. But Brian, can you send us this, your little list here?
Yeah, not a problem.
And
Please
I think
do.
it might be better if it weren't called Park Project, but River Project.
Saugatuck.
Okay.
and
Saugatucket, as Joanne says,
I would
Saugatucket.
hope that we can
Fixed.
give this list to the volunteers as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they're professionals. They know all this has to be done, but it's good that they know that we know that it needs to be done.
okay.
All right. So my whole point is that these volunteers thought they'd be able to do the preliminary plan by April 1st. And I think that that's an apropos day, because I think that would be an April Fool's joke on all of us.
Yes.
But I do, in talking with Maria, she did think that they could have a first go round conceptually by our May meeting, first of May, whatever Thursday that is, the first week of May. And my point is, at that stage, when it's still an embryo, is a good time to show the town council the embryonic vision of it and let them tweak it if they want, or to say, go for it, we love it. And then finalize our initial design of the project after that, and then have the the contemporary theater kind of presentation to the abutters and to the public, so they can look at it and tweak it, get their information, come back and redesign it, then go back to the town council with a finalized idea.
Larry.
Might just
I
be a
think-
little bit longer, Larry. Instead of May, it might be more like June, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think that we could do it in May, and I think we should do it maybe mid to late May, because we also need to get to them at the same time, probably. We're gonna have one meeting, probably one opportunity to talk about that and the celebration for the 300th. So those should be covered in a May meeting, I think, and we should have enough information to be able to get them interested in what has transpired to date and to get a go ahead. If we can't get that by May, then I think we got a problem.
We're gonna need a schedule
Mid to late May.
at that point, right? That's.
Yeah, I think we're asking them for a potential date in mid-May for a work session. And it's, if we have to delay it, it's okay. The first week in May, and we're not there, we can tell them we'd like to delay it a month or whatever. But I think by having a targeted date, we have something to strive for, and it doesn't get kicked down the can.
I agree.
But with this letter, Susan, if we ask for that date then, while they're creating the subcommittee, I think it kind of puts it in a timeline. You know?
Okay, well, I think it's pretty ambitious, but I'll leave the setting of the date up to Brian and Jamie.
Yeah.
I'll let them weigh in on what they think we ought to be putting in for a date.
And
I know
Brian,
what-
you can talk to Maria or Randy Collins or those guys and see what they think. If they think they'd rather have June or July, I don't really care. I just think that we need this, when we're writing this letter to the town council, we should give them some kind of time frame that we want to see them.
Maybe we just keep it open and say, sometime by this summer, or something.
I would prefer to keep it general like that if we're going to ask for anything, because I really think right now we're dealing with a concept.
Yeah.
And I think before you ask to sit down with anybody, you need to at least have preliminary sketches on paper with some idea of what we're looking at in terms of cost.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, and I don't think that can't be done in this amount of time, so.
No.
And wait, is part of that also going to be bringing the community in for feedback?
No.
Or is that after?
No.
All right, so that's after.
That's after.
Okay.
The town council is basically endorsing our preliminary idea so that we can, and basically what they're saying is, yeah, okay, it's at a point where you can show it to the public and get the abutters input as well.
Got it.
All right.
So Larry,
I don't wanna go down that road and not have the town council right there. I want them at the meeting.
if I were to format a letter that asked for the creation of the subcommittee and then simply express that it is the hope of the Economic Development Committee that we have a thumbnail sketch of concept ready for discussion sometime during the summer. I think that's about as solid as you could hope to go at this point.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that's
David,
great.
are you going to join us in this boat? You think that that's okay and doable?
Who did you ask?
Jamie,
Oh,
Again, I would,
you've got the experience in this.
yeah, it's, again, not knowing what the initial team's coming up with and what the scale and scope of everything is, you know, and what their focus is. I think, you know, speaking in broad terms is your best, you know, under promise, over deliver.
Correct.
Mhm.
I was thinking in my head, could you even say late spring, early summer, and that may be pushing it versus saying midsummer, early fall, and if you come in summer, you know, you look like a hero. The
That
council's
sounds
going
good
to
too,
be
yeah.
in the mix of budget discussions through May and early June. So, you know, their slate's going to probably not clear, you know, July anyhow, with their workload. So, you know, we got a comprehensive community plan we have to hold a public hearing for in the next month or so. And again, they're in the midst of a budget season. So I think Brian and I may have a better idea if we get a chance to talk to Randy on what his availability is. Time he's going to be able to dedicate this to this, as well as Will Green and the volunteer team. I think that's going to dictate a lot of things. Randy may have a month now, but all of a sudden he's pulled to somewhere in Boston.
Exactly.
Gig.
Right.
Those timetables may change.
Right.
Well, I'm going to say this again about the celebration. Time is passing. It's 2023. And right now, we're into 2021. And by summer, fall, we're going to have maybe 14, 16 months to get ready for it. Why don't we think about doing a subcommittee to get working on that, so that we can have the town council, you know, on board with the idea that something's happening. You know, we can just kick the ball down the road as long as you want to, but it's just going to put us in a bind for that particular evolution.
I think
And I
that's a
think the town-
pregnant idea.
I think the town manager was very strongly behind that idea of sending a letter to the town council, letting them know that this is coming up and suggesting or asking that they think about putting together an ad hoc committee to deal with it while we're still, you know, a year and a half out.
I think we should take that as a priority. I mean, I know we're not discussing that now, but I'm on board with waiting on a meeting with the council until we get some more particulars on the
Okay, well,
subject.
why don't we,
But
in the letter
we shouldn't
then,
wait on the celebration.
No,
Brian, why don't we ask for permission for two subcommittees?
Yeah. Why not?
All right, and the elephant in the room. Joanne, how about you being the chair of that subcommittee? And then Brian and Susan will go there, and Henry, you and Joanne can go with the other one.
yeah, sounds like an idea. I mean, when
I-
we get to this part of the agenda,
Joanne,
We've got the text for subcommittee. You can just change the names and then,
I have a lot of information, Larry.
yeah.
I think this is something that might be better off as a full ad hoc committee, you know, for a one event thing. It is a big event. I don't know that this committee should really take that all on its shoulders all by itself. And I think the town council is going to want to try and attract other people to try and
Larry,
to work on that.
Larry,
And I think you will get volunteers to work on that.
oh yeah, absolutely. Henry, go ahead.
Larry, if we can move the agenda to the tricentennial, you know, I've done quite a bit of research, and I have to, you know, give a shout out to Jessica Wilson is the research librarian, who spent at least 2 weeks in microfilm of what happened at the 250th. Joanne found the only original brochure that exists. And I could tell you, I'll just try to give you a 10,000 foot view, because if I get into the weeds, we're going to be here till tomorrow morning. The council appointed a committee of 35 people. That's right. And those 35 people were representative of the Chamber of Commerce, the Wakefield Village Association, the the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, the Women's Professional Club, the Women's Junior Professional Club, the Elks Club. It's just about every civic organization had representation on the committee for the 250th. The people that were, most of these people are gone. I would say 90% of them are gone by now. But the general frame of mind of the people, and I happen to know them, was they were going to spare no expense to do this. No expense. And they put together events that were May, June, July, and August that included things like a massive parade that had 12 divisions in it. They they had fireworks celebrations. They had concerts. They had plays. This is where most of us remember the Heritage Festival. They used to be in Marina Park. This is where that spawned out of. And Larry, to you, they took over the Wakefield Mall parking lot to build the parade. Okay, but bottom line on what happened, I mean, the detail is just enormous. But bottom line is they attracted over 50,000 people into town. And the boom to local businesses went on for like 2 or 3 years afterwards. I mean, because these people, they came into town, they learned about South Kingstown as a destination. They came back here, they spent money in restaurants, they spent money in businesses, they spent money, Woolworths was there at the time. And it was an incredible success. But it's almost to the point when I was reading it, even though I was there, I'm saying to myself, I don't remember it being this big. And I said to myself, this is a little delusional, but they managed to pull it off. But some of the people that were involved were very, very influential people. They had, at the time, Senator Pastore was involved. They had, Senator Pell was involved. Cianci kept showing up here and there. But all of the town's town fathers, if you will, were all vested in doing this. So
Was it a weekend?
So, Henry?
what? No, this was 4 months.
Okay.
Not 4 days.
So do you want me to give a little background on what we did
Go ahead, Joanne.
for the 125th? We if this helps, we had a planning group. There were about 12 of us that met weekly, and we were the movers and the shakers to put together a plan that we then presented to what we called a steering committee, and that represented, like you were saying, Henry, you know, to be very inclusive. So we got the colleges, someone from each college, we got alumni, we got every student organization, we got, you know, this, that. So we had a group of about 50 people on the steering committee. It was something like 42 or something. And so every area was represented. So from each campus and everything, faculty, staff, students. And basically what we did is we presented them with what the planning committee drafted. So you don't have 50 people coming up with, like Jamie was saying earlier, with all these crayons and everybody trying to, you know, to kind of condense the ideas.
Yeah.
Now I drafted pretty much a year-long celebration for SK. I think we're at that point where we can do year-long because many of the things could be virtual, including various lectures and things like that everybody's doing now. So it could be a year-long celebration that we do get a committee together, and then there's a, group of 9, 10, 11, 12 of just some key, departments that we think could work. And then we have an honorary steering committee, which represents everyone in the town in a sense, from the school committee to the librarians to the, students to the, from high school, and all that. And then everybody, they weigh in it. So you've got good representation. And then the others, the small committee runs with everything. So that would be my suggestion, because it's very hard to work with huge amounts. And then we reported back to them one more time you know, the president was there, the very first meeting, congratulated and thanked everyone for being on it. Then we did all the work, went back to them one more time and just said, these are the final plans after your input, you know, because we tweaked some things. You know, one thing we're missing is something more on more in diversity, or, you know, something like that. So then we tweaked it, and then we brought back the calendar year of all these things. We had pillars, 4 pillars that we were focusing on, from the culture of URI to this, this, and this. So you might want to come up with themes, and then a year-long calendar event. So if that helps, we could mimic something like that.
But the,
Why don't we write a letter? Why don't we have a second letter that Brian could write that's going to appeal to Rob and suggest that the EDC has been interested in this issue, has identified the date, and has 2 people on the committee who would be very interested to consult with the town council to see how to organize the town to get ready for this. Then we're not offering to do it, but we offer to meet with them. We bring this expertise that we've got, the historian in Henry, the expert in Joanne, and we say that these 2 people are ready, because the town council is not going to have Joanne's expertise in doing this. And it seems to me, if we identified this as a contribution to the town council as it thinks about this, I think that would be very helpful. If I sat on the town council, I would say, oh, yes. That's
yeah. But the thing is, to understand the magnanimity of it, I mean, there were 12 divisions in the parade.
Well, wait a minute. I don't think we need to,
No, I just want you to get an understanding.
Oh, it's going to be huge.
Of how delusional, well, big, that they got. They had 12 divisions in a parade, National Guard units, Navy units, police from just about every police force in the state, state police, bands.
yeah, but we might want to bring it to
reenactors.
this century. We might want something that moves, you know, looks forward.
Yeah, and most interestingly, there was even a Native American festival over in Saugatucket Park that people could go to. And there was one thing in there, I looked at it and I said, oh, I remember this. I don't think you could do that today, but they had
Oh, you told us.
the Mid-South County Queen. I said, oh no. So
Was that your wife?
No, there were 3 or 4 of them were classmates of mine. And what they did is there were like 14 girls that had a float, and they were dressed in colonial costumes. And then whoever the people voted on to be the Miss South County, I got a pretty nice scholarship to college in that fall. So so that went on. But there was a lot of women's organizations. Like I said, I don't even think, Larry, do you know, does that women's club still exist anymore?
No, it's defunct now. I was on it, South County Women in Business and Women's Organization.
It's gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
And they had a ball at URI.
What is cool though is the Tamaquag Museum at URI.
Yeah.
Is going to be opening up, and I believe it's for 2023. So it could be simultaneous, you know, to celebrate all that as part of it and all that good
You
stuff.
could fit that right in.
Good things that we could sync to. Yeah.
Okay, Susan, I think we need letter number 2. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think, why not? We can just write this letter. Rob wants us to do this, but it was also clear that the town council probably wants it to be more, and we too don't want it to be just an EDC event. So
no.
We could never do it.
we just offer our expertise in these 2 particular people, and we say we're willing to come. You're willing to go and talk to them about how to formulate whatever it is that's appropriate for the town to do.
Yeah, that we can come up with some draft plans to share with the committee. Just say something like that in the letter.
Yeah, see, one thing I want to do, Joanne, is I want to take all of the notes that I have, and there's quite a bit, and try to boil it down into about a dozen slides, because otherwise you're going to be so far into the weeds.
Yeah, and like Susan said, you know, they might have done 50 years ago. You might not necessarily want to do that now. You might want to do something more for the time. So yeah, there's a lot of things. Yep.
Yeah.
to
So
think. about.
Larry, I think listening to the discussion, we can, Brian and I can work with the town manager and formulate a letter for your signature articulating the EDC commission to participate in the 300th year and the best way to make positive steps towards that. And you have two people who are very interested on either taking the lead, some type of subcommittee, or actively participating on that subcommittee to be formulated and, named by the town council or others. And I think we can put that language and put your wishes in that letter.
Okay,
Just call us the committee. We're not a commission. I think we're the Economic Development Committee.
correct.
Henry, if some of the information that you've run across, if that's something that you can send to me in terms of the last committee that was created, it might provide some interesting material to put in the letter.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
But the thing is, there's just so much of it that I'd have to zip it all into one big file. And I think,
No, you have to boil it down, Henry.
yeah,
Until
yeah, absolutely.
I don't.
Brian, do
I
you
don't-
want me to put together a little bit of a process thing to send you to include, or?
Yeah.
I
That's
think that would be
probably something that would be valuable if and when we actually get to the point of getting on a council agenda to discuss the creation of this committee with them. You could lay that out at that point in time. What I was really interested in is whatever Henry has gathered about the last committee that was
Sure.
created and
Yeah.
the scope of the events that the last celebration
We can
involved.
do that.
So I don't need a huge amount of detail, just a nice picture, Henry.
Yes, okay.
I think Joanne, some kind of a bio on what you did, what you were involved with up at URI for their 125.
this is what Joanne does for a living.
Yeah,
Right.
So send me that too then. We'll see what we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
work in there.
That's key,
Yeah.
that they know, like a little bit about the background of the two people that
Yeah.
are offering to.
I think in fact, even though you don't use it now, I think maybe if Joanne had some little scope of what they did at URI for 125, I think, Brian, that could be useful, even if you don't use it right now.
Okay.
I think that could be good.
Okay,
All right.
so.
But we still have one motion on the floor. Can we
Right.
combine the two motions?
No, let's do two separate ones and then I'll kill two separate items on the agenda. The first, the one that's been voted on and is on the table is that we form a subcommittee. We asked permission for the town council to create a subcommittee of the EDC along with the rec committee with our two people and their two people.
Okay, so that's done.
We did
There was
that.
a motion, there
Voted
was a
on that.
second,
Yeah,
there
that
was
was
a vote.
Have we
We
voted
did.
on that?
We voted.
Yes.
yes.
We
Yeah.
voted.
Okay. So
Yeah,
now we can do the one for a separate letter as discussed with Henry and Joanne and their input to Brian. And I'll sign that letter at the same time.
I so move.
Second,
I'll second that.
okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Bye.
I,
Opposed? God, we're unanimous in all our stuff today.
All right, COVID. Is COVID next?
No, the business data, but there's really nothing to report on that, right?
I think Jay just sent it around about 10 minutes before the meeting, or I saw it.
He
10
sent
minutes.
some new materials around about 10 minutes at like
Yeah,
10 of 6.
let me explain. I'm at a stopping point until somebody else takes a look at the situation. I was able to manipulate the date data to a point, but I could not get the the dates all in a 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year. It just wouldn't work. I couldn't do it. So what I've done is I've sent the updated for 2014 list to you and the updated 2021, all in the same format. But the dates on the two are still not in agreement, and I think it's going to cause a problem. So perhaps somebody else can do that. I'm at an impasse. I will, however, if there's no other way to do it, if it's felt that it's needed to be done, I will go back and look at those 1,342 or whatever it is, data entries, and adjust the dates manually. But I'm not going to do that until somebody says there isn't a way to do it in Excel, that it's going to be a lot more, 1,000, a million times.
Hey, Henry, can you look into that?
I can circulate those materials this evening when we're done.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so let's do that. And we'll keep the, Brian, put a note to keep this on the agenda for next
Okay.
month. All right, the next thing is a COVID update, which Rob's not here tonight, and he's the one that usually does that. So I'd like to go on to the next item on the.
Whoa. I have some comments about
Okay.
COVID. It seems to me, well, first of all, I was hoping Rob was going to be here, and so I could learn that the town is actively pursuing with CVS to use our CVS in town to distribute vaccines, but he's not here, so I can't ask that. But it did seem to me that the EDC could be thinking ahead, this is not an update from Rob, but we could be thinking about the ways in which some activities in the summer could be based on being outdoors. You know, we could come up with some sort of a campaign that would have outdoor dining, outdoor entertainment, because even though it looks like we're in good shape in terms of the numbers of vaccines, I don't think we're going to have a lot of people who will be totally vaccinated, and we want to try and have some sort of summer activities here. So I thought we should just be thinking about things like what Warren is doing to have tents outside and activities outside, and suggest that to businesses that they consider doing some of those things.
Bristol is having their parade.
Yeah.
I think that the new governor
Yeah.
is really working to open up the state more, as opposed to the old governor, a day old, and I'm calling her the old governor. But anyway, today they announced indoor dining
60%.
2/3.
Yeah.
But I think that by Memorial Day, it will be really close to open.
Well, okay, so that's would be lovely. But I mean, I think, for instance, before people like me, even though I'm going to be vaccinated by then, before people like me are going to go sit indoors in a restaurant, I'm going to wait until everybody else sitting in the restaurant is also vaccinated. And I don't think that's going to happen until sometime in the fall. So I just thought if we could think about the ways in which, I mean, last year there was all this discussion about how we could set up extra picnic tables, and maybe we could invite food trucks or picnic tables or tents or something, so that there would be, for people who are still timid about being indoors and enclosed, there could be ways in which there would be things. I mean, I went by Brickley's, and Brickley's has taken off its front door.
Yep.
And it's put there, a sort of
Takeout only. Yeah.
what we used to have on the Jersey Shore, where you went to get your Daisy Freeze or Dairy Freeze or whatever it was called. And you're not going to be able to go in. And so if we could just kind of get people thinking about ways in which they could conduct their business, maybe we ought to block off some parking spaces on Main Street so that every restaurant has 2 parking spaces in front of it, blocked off by Jersey walls or something. so that people can actually could sit outside if that made them more comfortable. Because whatever the governor says, there still is going to be the fact that a lot of people are not going to go rushing back
Yeah.
to go in.
Susan, I think you're right about that.
I-
Yeah. Having Main Street blocked off Friday, Saturday nights or something like that would just make it like
Yeah.
it's going to be a festival every weekend, and you're just going to have more people walking around
And
and
then you just have people outdoors. Now, I
Yeah.
was thinking about blocking because I know what it means to block off the street. Oh my God, that's a nightmare. But if we could just carve out some things in front of each of the places that's an eatery so that there could be spaces where people could sit outside. You could have folding chairs and quickly folding tables and stuff. I don't know. It just seems to me like it would be a good idea. People who are coming here are coming from New York. They could be bringing variants of this disease. There could be a lot of concern on the part of residents and visitors that they want to be outdoors. And so I think we should think about the ways in which people could conduct as much business as possible outdoors this summer.
will there be grants, Brian, when you did that winter, the heaters? Do you think there'll be something for, funding for tables and chairs and?
I
With the
don't know
lights.
whether they're going to try and do another round of that. I know a lot of the money that went out so late that I expect to see it being used during the spring, because a lot of places were going to throw up tents in the middle of December and January. There's a limit to what you can do with them in that kind of weather. But I do expect to see them go up to make the spring come a little early. So, but I'm not hearing anything about a redo of the Take It Outside grants that we did in the fall.
Yeah.
Larry, I know there have been some discussions with the building department as well as the town manager's office that we've been involved in about a few businesses, primarily restaurants, not expanding or initiating more outdoor space. We do have 2 tents that the town purchased in the Take It Outside that we are coordinating with the town manager's office on how to make those available to businesses in the community. And just, I want to say this week, Brian, we were talking about the formats for that, whether it's, you can have them for a weekend, you can have them for a week. We're working on lease clauses so that if one borrows a tent for a month, that it comes back in the same kind of manner that we delivered it to, and just the logistics of, we have the tent, who picks them up? Do they get delivered to the site? Who puts them up? Prior to taking them back, do we go and make sure the tent isn't, doesn't have repairs in it and the side panels are missing and the heater's broken? So some logistics involved in that, but we anticipate through the town manager's office, rolling out some type of news flash of and almost request, here's what we have available, who would like to entertain competing for this, and allowing that in South Kingstown. Also, I know a couple of restaurateurs have approached the building department about potentially making some of their outdoor space more permanent.
Yeah.
Because that was an
How about food?
right?
I'm sorry, Larry, I was talking when you were talking and I didn't hear what you said.
I said, I think all the outdoor dining was an emergency authorization by the town manager after them submitting it and everything else. And I think, wasn't there an expiration date and they all need to reapply?
In March, I believe the dates are March unless they're extended. So that'll be on a council agenda shortly. Also, there's some discussion of some legislation at the state level to either automatically extend or potentially automatically approve what existed.
Well, that would be good. That would be very good.
Well, there's a lot of ifs or questions about that. A lot of things were allowed to be done that are outside the parameters of what the zoning code allows. And people in the community went along with that because it was temporary in nature. So you may, for the restaurant across the street from me to have 2 Jersey barriers and a bunch of plastic things outside my residential unit because it's for COVID. And, I know they need to survive, but if I have to look at that for the next 20 years, I may be a little more concerned
Oh, yeah,
about.
no, I'm not talking about 20. Okay, what
Yeah,
about food trucks?
There, again, there's discussions about all those type of activities, Susan.
Okay,
Again,
the
the
issue-
difficulty is a lot of people have hard fixed assets. If I'm a restaurateur and I'm paying taxes,
Right.
limited space, I may be upset if a food truck parks right outside of my restaurant,
Mm.
vending license, and pays their taxes in another community.
well,
Yeah.
maybe that can't park.
Balancing act there.
But, and I see Mark Levitt has left us, but Mark Levitt is very interested in another thing, which is setting up the what do you call the farmer's market
Yeah.
in the Saugatucket Park. He thinks the Saugatucket Park would be a great place to put the farmer's market.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know what that would entail, but things like that where you could draw, that would just be Saturday mornings, but you could draw people downtown, and I think that would be good.
A
Does
lot of
anybody know
communities-
why that park isn't at the Saugatucket, the Veterans Park now? And why is it at the URI East Farm? Why isn't it in downtown?
It
No.
could also be in Larry's parking lot at the mall, but that wouldn't be quite as appealing, I don't think, as being on the grass. But a lot of urban farmers markets are in parking lots.
Yeah.
So I just think we should be working as hard as we can to try and figure out how we can get people.
Well, I can say this, Susan, it sounds like the town is very actively
Yeah, it does
working on
sound-
this.
Okay, that's
And-
good.
And let's just wait. We'll keep it on the agenda and we'll talk about it next
Okay.
month as well.
Okay, fine.
Larry,
Okay.
I just want to add one more thing about COVID. If you haven't gotten the shot and you're eligible, get it. I went to the Dunkin' Donuts Center on Tuesday. I said hi to the new governor coming in because he was getting his shot too. And I timed it. I arrived at 12:02. I was out at 12:19, and that included the 15-minute wait time. So it goes absolutely, they bang them right out.
Yep. I got mine at South County Hospital on Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. I was in and out. I had to sit in a chair for 15 minutes in the respite area.
Yeah.
And it was a piece of cake. So I agree.
I got mine at CVS Newport, and I got it exactly at the moment that I had scheduled it, and I sat for 15 minutes and I was
And
gone.
then out you went.
County
Okay,
House.
let's go on to the next agenda item because we've got 9 minutes.
Okay,
And I want to give it this its due. This is something that is new and Brian, it's going to be at every meeting now. How many times in this committee have we asked about, we didn't know about Kacha going in. We didn't know that was proposed up on Route 1 and all that kind of stuff. It went in and the EDC never knew about the project. So the planning department has this nifty thing now. And what you're looking at in the agenda is all the commercial projects that are in planning. And so now we don't have anything to complain about.
Yeah.
This
Every
is
month
good,
you'll
Larry.
get a little update. I think it's
Super.
great.
It's great. I saw it. I was very excited.
All right, and that is Mr. Wagner, because I complained to him that we never discussed Dollar General at this committee at all.
Oh,
And I had people come up and say, what about da, 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 da? Didn't know. And Brian is new to our committee and didn't know that we never heard anything about this stuff. So he offered to do that. And that's why he sent out a new agenda to add that. And I want to compliment him.
yeah, that was great.
Well done.
Have any questions on that? Go for it.
I have to
Where's-
apologize because I didn't understand when I came into working with this group and I saw this issue on the agenda. I assumed that this was just a time for the members to discuss this. I didn't realize that it had previously been used for pushing out information. So I'm trying to correct that situation and at least make all of that information available. So what I'll do is I'll create and update this table, simply advising you where these projects are in the development stages. And I'll link you to the development page that we already have, and you can go in there and pull up whatever details might interest you on the individual projects themselves.
Are we
Isn't
still
that
getting?
Brian, where's
referrals?
the Dollar General store supposed to be at? Where's Kingstown 1860?
Right next to the police station.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just sat on the same side of the road as the John Deere dealership.
Yep.
Just off of the car dealership, the vacant
wow.
lot between there and the elderly housing.
Okay.
Are we still getting, or are we still going to get referrals from the planning department for developers to come in and brief us on what they're doing and get our recommendation to go forward? Or is that out of the picture now? That was one of our responsibilities.
Only if the person
Right.
requesting whatever they're requesting from the town ask for it. But we'll know about them now. So if we have any questions, we can ask the
Yeah,
planning department about it.
Previously, my understanding was what happened was they were told when they came in to do the development, they were told that if they would like to get a recommendation from the EDC, they could do that. It wasn't necessary, but they could do it. They could brief the EDC and get a letter of support or whatever. But that might, just asking the question, we used to do that. We haven't been doing it for quite a while. Maybe we don't need to.
Jamie,
Just a
that's what he is correct. That's what used to happen. But I will tell you that when we endorsed the project that the planning board didn't like, from then on, the planning department never passed anything else on to us. Okay, that's the reality of it.
Jay, we're in contact. Our goal is to be communicating with all applicants early on. And if an applicant asks the question and wants to come before you, we would encourage that. It's not necessarily something that we will mandate through our department. We're trying to establish some certainty for the developers, and that if they meet the regulations, they get their permits in a timely manner. Usually sort of devoid of public opposition. Again, regulatory standpoint, if an applicant meets the regulations, they should get their permits in a timely manner, and there shouldn't be kind of any hindrance or roadblocks thrown before them because there's public opposition to it.
It was never a roadblock.
Or a review.
Jamie, it was never a roadblock. It was always something was offered as an option to them if they wanted additional support. And I think that was a good thing back when we were doing it.
Both hotels did it.
Yeah, we weren't a roadblock.
Alzheimer's facility.
No, I'm not. I don't think EDC, I didn't intend to say that you were a roadblock, but we're trying to give certainty to applicants that when they meet the regulations, the process is smooth.
Yep.
And by saying that, I'm like, an endorsement from EDC is welcome, but you shouldn't need it.
Right.
Right? You should not need it. If
that's perfect.
Hotels and you meet the standards associated with hotels, you should get your permit in a timely manner.
This does put a lot of focus on the quality of those regulations.
That is a strong objective of mine to bring the quality development that you are deserving of as a community of your status. And from my perspective, as time goes on, we need the regulations to support that vision. So on that subject matter, had budget review with council last night. There were a few questions, but we put a little bit of consulting money in the planning department's budget, and the following year in the capital improvement program, I think I have a 3 or 4 year ask of close to $250,000 to upgrade regulations, develop design standards, and kind of bring you forward from where you are,
Good. That's good.
asking the developer to do something nice versus the regulatory requirement that it's in essence mandated that you do something nice with a known outcome, not, so they have some guidance through the application process.
This one change has been sorely needed for years.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled with that.
Larry, for 3 years, I did a much larger in-depth chart for the town council and the town of Simsbury. And again, it hadn't been done for them, and it's something I initiated there. We talked about it in the department, and Brian took it on to give to you. So again, what we can't promise is once they're out of our department, trying to get the building department to take over that aspect to say it's under construction, and where they are in the building phase. But I think it's something that's transportable to the zoning and building department also.
Speaking of regulations, I have a question. Is it legal? I meant to look in Muni code to see. Can you park a car that doesn't have a license plate in a public lot overnight or anytime?
I think you would be hard pressed if it's just there for 24 hours to make an issue of that, Susan. But if someone is storing a vehicle in a public lot without registration or plates, let zoning know about it, or let the Joel know, let the police know about it.
Okay.
It's 9 o'clock.
Oop.
I love it.
I've got a question.
That's courtesy of Jay Newsom, by the way. That's my computer. It tells me every hour.
Susan had to ask that last question and push it over.
Is that to wake you up so you know when to shut off the computer?
That's right.
Yeah.
You got it.
I want to use this for 2 seconds to also update on stuff that's happening in town that we know about. So I can tell you that Planet Fitness is still going into the mall. Construction's supposed to start again in July and be completed to open around Labor Day. And that's because that's when they expect that they can have full use of the whole facility. So the whole COVID thing has delayed that, but that's an update on that. There was a request from the committee, and I know Rob was upset about Paul Massey using the Union Fire District's property, the former Houston Brothers on High Street, for storage of vehicles. And I was told by some powers to be at Massey that has been shelved.
Great.
And they're not going to
Really?
do that.
But it's
Right.
on the, wait a minute, isn't it on the,
It's on there.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that I talked to someone in that organization, and they're looking for an alternative site.
excellent.
Great.
Right?
Great.
That doesn't mean there is an alternative site.
Well, no, but maybe then it means that he's willing to talk to you again, Larry, about moving the whole friggin' enterprise.
And I talked to him about that,
I know you did.
and I haven't heard back if there is.
Well, but didn't he tell you that he had made this 10-year plan to store cars? It's his
Right,
car.
it was a 10-year lease. Yeah. So
That's on hold. So maybe
Right,
now
but
we'd
it's
like
like-
to hear from you again.
I know of another property in town that he's looking to do the same thing on. That's
Oh.
zoned for it and everything else.
But
so-
he told you that it was done deal. Maybe if you can get there before it's a done deal. And it is his cars that I was asking about, because he has many cars that are parked in that town parking lot Many of them do not have license plates on them. They're all Chevys. So he is using the town's parking lot. I counted 16 spaces he was using in the town's parking lot, including some that aren't spaces right along the walkway there, for the cars that he is either doesn't have space for, or they're lined up for service or something or other. I don't know.
I don't know about that, but I know that they're, I could give you that update because it was listed here and I said, oh, I can shed a little light on that.
Yeah.
And the Brood Awakenings deal, it is done. And that's being marketed again, that piece of property.
Oh,
It's
oh, you
done.
mean it's
We're not
done.
gonna do
You're
it.
not going
No,
in.
It's over. Brood
Oh.
Awakenings is not going there,
No.
Oh,
all right?
oh, that's
We
too bad.
need,
So
we
did
need
they-
something in there. It looks horrible.
Yeah.
Did they declare bankruptcy? Or are they going out of
No.
business?
No.
No?
It's just that it's not financially feasible at this time.
Because Calf Bar is moving into the Old Town Meats.
Yeah.
Yeah, 401 Studios. I'll go you one. Yes, they're in the process of doing that, which opens up the area next to Monroe Realty, where the Calf Bar used to be. And Green Line is going to move from their current place down the street to the new place.
Mhm.
And that will free up the first floor of where Green Line is for someone to rent as well.
What goes on the second floor?
They still are going to be using that for offices and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay,
Green Line owns that building
okay.
and they're looking at tenants now. All right, nothing.
Give everybody an update about URI's commencement if you want. The class of 2020, we didn't get to celebrate, of course. What we're looking to do is maybe do something in person in the fall, possibly around Alumni and Family Weekend. If, depending on the whole COVID and variants and everything. But the class of 2021, we're going to do a hybrid. We're going to do the main ceremony virtually. So the honorary degree recipients and all the degrees conferred will be the formal ceremony held virtually with the president, the provost. And then the actual colleges will be in person at Mead Field. And we're thinking of doing 250 at a time, laid out, spread out at Mead Field, the ball field, 250 students, graduates, no family, no friends. It would all be live streamed so that any family and friends would have to see it all, virtually. But at least the students, after doing many surveys with them, they absolutely want to walk across the stage, that in their college, they can go up, have their name read, their picture up on a screen, walk across the stage, leave the field. Then the next 250 come in for the Arts and Sciences College. They get graduated, they go up on the screen. So, arts and sciences being, 1,000 plus, we're going to do a survey and find out how many really would like to do that at this point. So we might have to do 5 or 6 College of Arts and Science ceremonies, dog and pony show, then do human health services, several of those. So we're going to start the Friday, actually the Thursday night, to do the Excellence Awards, go into starting Friday, run all the way through the weekend, every hour and a half, just in and out, in and out, in and out. So that's our plan. That'll be in person. So we feel like we're compromising by doing an in-person for the colleges.
Wait,
Thank you for that update. All right, I want to go to an update from the planning department. Anything we haven't hit?
I think we've covered most of
Yeah.
what we would have brought up under this agenda heading.
I'm just glad I'm looking. The next item on the agenda is, we haven't done minutes, but do you want to approve the minutes? You want to make a motion on the minutes?
Can we skip
Or
to
do you wanna
next
push
month?
it to next
Can
month?
we save them till next month? I haven't even
Yeah.
read them.
I didn't
Okay.
either.
The one thing I thought I caught, Brian, was that our newest member was present, and I don't think he was on the list of,
I will double check that.
all right, just look for Mark Levitt on there. And that he was introduced to the committee and that kind of stuff.
Hey, I've got a quick question.
Yeah.
What's that property on Main Street? It's just west of Main Street when you go up the hill. It looks like almost one of the Newport mansions.
Oh, the McKim Mead White House?
Yeah, it's large with the
Yeah.
big,
And it's for sale again.
so it's a residential property?
Yeah, it's a residential property. It was built by
Wow.
McKim Mead and White in the 18 somethings. And it's quite impressive inside. It has a great big oak paneled. You remember, Larry, we went to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge.
It was commercial, they used it for, events.
It certainly could be used for that,
It
but needs a
hasn't
lot of
been,
work.
yeah. Well, no, I think they put a lot of work into it
done it?
now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and now it's for sale again for some millions of dollars. I can't remember how many.
But it's zoned residential, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm very happy to have that list. We didn't really, I think maybe we ought to move the list of projects so it doesn't get caught at the end of our meetings in the future. Or I don't know.
I think that's where it belongs
I
because
guess you're right.
you don't want to push the Saugatucket right along.
No, that's right.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, you're right.
It's more, it's a little easier to talk about that.
I did talk to Roland Fiore the other day.
Wow.
And gave him an update of the Saugatucket. He was who I was talking about with Rex
I
Eberly.
knew it.
He is very excited about the project and is still wants to be active on it. He grew up on that basketball court.
Yeah.
And he has very fond memories of what it was. And I think, bless you, I think that is only a positive. And he is getting more active in the Johnny Cake Center and low-income housing associated with it. They just bought property from the Welcome House and that kind of stuff. So you will see his name coming up more on a volunteer basis, helping that end.
I know his sister Lisa is, I went to a women's fundraiser for the Johnny Cake shop. They wanted $5,000 for each of us. And she was there.
That's great.
Yep. So that's my update on that. Anything else? I'm very happy that we're not going to be looking at a final design of the Saugatucket on April Fool's Day. All right. I'd much rather just talk about an update and we'll go.
I don't think it would have been April Fools. That would have been.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything further? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? And I'll see you all on April Fool's Day.
Motion to adjourn.
9/11. We missed it by 11.
Well, but we had a lot of visitors.
Yeah.
We did
All right,
well.
we need a second. I made the motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Okay, say aye.
Aye.
Jamie, thank you very much. I know you don't have to be here. I appreciate that you've been
Thank
here.
you, Jamie. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you,
Thank
Thank you,
Brian.
everybody.
Brian, great work on the agenda.
It's
Yeah.
important to me. Thank you.
Okay.
Really great. Thank you. Have a good night.
Ciao.
Be safe.